My name is Kris DeLano, and I'm the Corporate HR Director for Rockline Industries. Rockline is a private label manufacturer of various wet wipe products and coffee filters. I have been in HR. This year it'll be 30 years, which is kind of amazing. I took a pretty traditional path to get where I am today. I actually started out in college majoring in music education. I switched to business. I took an HR class in my undergraduate degree that I really enjoyed. And so I went on and got my MBA with an emphasis in human resources. And the things I really appreciated about HR is that there are opportunities to manage projects, manage programs, be analytical. There's problem solving, and there's that interpersonal relationship building. So it had just a wide variety to me of experience and abilities to contribute to the organization. As the corporate HR director, more of the things I'm working on are strategic or program level or project level. I spend a fair amount of time also giving insight or guidance or direction to my team. I am able to participate in our annual strategic planning process. And one of the key objectives for strategic planning is around talent management. So I very much am working toward implementing HR-related strategies that support the business strategy. And HR, it's really important to make sure that you have a business hat and a business focus you can also bring to the table, and make sure that the things we do from an HR perspective to really be strategic partners, we have to understand where the business wants to go, what their strategies are, right? And understanding the business is wanting to go accomplish these strategies, and it requires us to have this level of talent, this type of talent, and then how do we go about either finding it through external recruiting strategies or putting plans in place to develop current associates to be able to meet those objectives. It's very interesting, again, depending on where you are, what your size is, what your markets are that you're in, how you set your strategy for how you're going to staff the organization. Yeah. We have had to probably rely a little bit more on the external market in the last 5 years or so because we've grown fairly quickly. Our business has grown, and it takes time to develop associates internally. I think we would like to move toward making sure it's a pretty even balance. It's always good to bring in some different talent, some new talent that brings in some ideas and insights from outside the organization just to keep things fresh and challenging us. But in order to retain our current talent, we have to make sure they have opportunities to continue to grow and contribute. Yeah. So for us, it's a balance. One of the things that we're embarking on right now is the startup of a new plant. So from an HR perspective, we have to put a plan in place to understand what talent they need, how many people do they need, and put together a strategy of how we're going to go find and recruit that talent, get them trained up so they can run the facility, and then continue. We'll have to build an HR staff that can support all of that on an ongoing basis. HR administration is important in that you have to have that in order to keep programs going, get people paid, have benefits that are attractive. But I think where HR really adds value to the organization, where I get the most reward, is when my team can put in place HR programs, HR strategies that help drive the business to meet their objectives. Mm-hmm. Really understanding a business opportunity or a business problem and being able to come in with an HR solution and execute on that is very rewarding. have a situation with an associate or a manager when they're not being as effective as they could be, and being able to step in and help coach or problem solve or counsel them through that and actually see behavior change so that there's a positive outcome. That's always very rewarding. Again, I have a team of individuals who are all very talented, and when I've had the opportunity to somehow influence them or help direct them to a better outcome and they receive recognition for that, that is probably the third thing that really is rewarding to me. Probably the biggest challenge in the role that I am in today is when you agree to go do something that means the managers have to spend their time maybe in a different way than they're used to. So they're used to really focusing all the business priorities, and we have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. When you ask them to start focusing more on the talent side, some of their time has to be carved out to do that. Mm-hmm. And getting managers to think of talent management as a business process and a business project is probably one of our biggest challenges. Mm-hmm. In HR, more than almost any other role, you have got to gain credibility with who you work with. And I think as an HR organization or HR team, you have to have credibility to the organization. So it is really important to have the highest level of integrity. As an HR professional, you are held to a different standard as everyone else in the organization, and that's not really a difficult thing to bear, but it does make you really have to stand up and step out and be the leader. Interpersonal skills are critical, and the ability to change your style and be able, because you have to deal with all levels of the organization. You have to be willing to be able to give constructive feedback and sometimes, call a spade in a way that makes the person feel okay about it. Yeah. You really have to continue to be willing to learn more, not only about your own, the subject matter of HR, but just continuing to learn and being open-minded and gather insight from other functional areas, just to continually be building on your skill set. You've got to wear two hats. You've got to have your organizational hat on, and you have to have your employee advocate hat on. And trying to balance those two things at times can be difficult, but I have found that if you have credibility and if you're upfront and honest with people, associates, even if they don't get the answer they want, if they feel like you're coming from the right place and you have fully considered, what they have to say in their situation, they're going to respect your answer. So always be cognizant of how you present yourself and your HR group to the organization, with the goal always being to gain and maintain credibility, because then you will have a seat at the table. You will gain more traction around programs and initiatives that you want to put in place, and you'll be able to influence both managers and associates as it relates to getting the best performance out of both the organization and individuals.